A great partnership is communicating well. You are in sync. You are going in the same direction. And if that is not happening in your partnership, you're in trouble. As you and I know, nothing just ends after one day. It ends after weeks, months, years of some sort of trail of mistrust, betrayal, trust issues, etc. If you don't want that cataclysmic end, then you need to really talk about it.
Welcome back to Entrepreneur Money Stories. Today we have Tanis Jorge on the show. She is a serial tech entrepreneur and leading advisor on entrepreneurship and building successful co-founder partnerships. Now, this topic was a specific ask from the community. We heard from our listeners, our clients, and our team members that we really needed to have an expert on to talk about how to find and create a successful partnership. So Tanis, she has a ton of experience in startups and in a space where she has been able to co-found, scale, and successfully exit multiple businesses and keep the same partner. I love the way she talks about her partner and how she works with him to create a successful partnership. So here's my conversation with Tanis Jorge. Thank you so much for coming on to Entrepreneur Money Stories. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be great. I had to hold myself back because I have so much I want to ask you.
Good. I have so much to offer, I hope.
Yeah. Well, just for the audience, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what your mission in the world is today.
Okay. Yeah. Real quickly, serial tech entrepreneur, been building companies for the last 20 plus years. I've been fortunate to have great success over the, built 4 different companies over the 20 years, and all of them with the same co-founder, which we can talk about in a little bit. But my last company, Trulioo, did recently in 2021 reach a valuation of just shy of $2 billion. So very excited to have been part of that journey, founding that and watching the company rise and grow to what it was. So now I am the author of the Co-Founders Handbook and founder of the Co-Founders Hub. And our mission now is to really support entrepreneurs in what I believe to be one of the greatest assets or the greatest liabilities in their business. And that's their co-founding partnership. So business partnership, co-founder, however you call it, really to uplift them and teach them and show them and guide them through ways that they can build that partnership so that they can succeed in their business.
Thank you for sharing all that. What has been your role versus your co-founder's role in each of the how has that evolved from your original business together to your most recent business? Like, what are each of your roles and how do you guys work together in that?
Yeah, that's a great question because roles can evolve. For us, we really slipped into our roles in our very first business. Stephen was CEO and I was COO. But as you know, in the very early stages of businesses, you wear every hat.
Right.
We just picked a title because you needed something on your business card. So we sort of picked our title. And in the very early stage, like I said, you're doing everything. But one of the things that I've noticed as I've spoken to partnerships that have succeeded and failed, both of those journeys really had either a defined set of expectations and roles or undefined, and you can guess which one ended up leading to failure. Right. Having your quote unquote lane is very beneficial. And oftentimes that falls into one of two things, either your passion or what you're equipped with skill set wise. Mm-hmm. I think for us, we really kept that same role. We slipped into it with each partnership. And I think one of the things we did wrong was we didn't address each role at every business because it does kind of change. And especially our final company, which grew to such a large size, it wasn't the same experience. So again, it is important to try and define and communicate what each person's roles are, and because it might change or it might not.
What are some of the other things that you have seen that create successful partnerships?
Yeah, so I think the first most important is intentionality. oftentimes when we get into a partnership, we're just happy to have another person or a couple people beside us who are excited about the vision and going forward. And we kind of take that partnership and leave it a bit like a set it and forget it thing. I built it, we signed the dotted line, and now we're focused on revenue, building a great product or great service. We're focused on all these elements about the business, and we just leave our partnership and the partnership relationship as something that is just happening. And I think successful partnerships continue to work on the relationship, or at least are very cognitive of that person there beside them. Looking at what are they feeling today? Oh, I noticed they're kind of down. I'm going to take a moment out of my day and be like, hey, John, are you good? You seem quiet today. Remembering we're people and we're going through a really crazy journey, right? The entrepreneurial is a roller coaster ride. So I think the people that really still looked at each other as human beings, that are going through an emotional piece and are there to support, those people really saw a deeper and more trustworthy partnership.
Yeah. We joked a little bit, it's just like a marriage. If we take our partners for granted, whether it be in business or in our marriage or personal relationship or business, we can end up in a really slippery area. Are you married?
I am.
Okay. So do you use a lot of these
not to my co-founder.
Okay. But do you use these strategies at home too?
Yeah, it is. So here's an interesting thing. So I always paralleled it to a marriage, but as I began to speak to partners and hearing different strategies and philosophies, I actually shifted it a little bit. And so here's where I shifted it to. In a marriage, your goal in your relationship is to really serve one another. Is to put each other first. That's the main key goal, and that makes sense in a marriage. But I find in a business partnership, there's an advantage to making the business as the central figure. And then the partners are kind of like, they just got to work. They have to be polite. They got to be nice. But if you can actually turn the business into the center figure where you go, okay, what is right for the business? Then there's certain elements about what comes along in that entrepreneur journey that you're allowed to then not make it personal. And I'm going to give you an example of that. So you have a business partner who comes to the table and says, look, I want my son to work in the business, right? I think my son should fill this management role. And I think if your focus is on ensuring that your partner's happy, you're going to be like, sure, that's important to you. Even though in the back of your mind, you might be thinking, you know what, your son is a deadbeat. He just plays video games all day and smokes weed. Why do we want him in here?
Right.
But if you can say, all right, that's really interesting. Now let's place that and discover, is this the best part for our business? And if you both agree that that will be the milestone that you'll make your decisions on, you might be able to say, oh, gee, we do have this applicant from this job posting who's got a PhD and has got, all this experience. Maybe they're better suited than your son. And if you're mature or your partner's mature and you are both able to do that, you can go, oh, you know what? You're right. That is probably better for the business. And that depersonalizes that situation. So it's a little bit of a twist. Obviously you want to be sensitive to your partner and their needs, but at the same time, that's a great way to start off on the right foot.
I really like that idea because I think as solo business owners, it's a little bit easier to say the business is the priority.
Yeah.
So keeping that same focus with partnerships. So thank you for sharing that. I want to ask about what happens when two partners, their values change, but I guess maybe let's start with finding partners first, right? Okay. So not everyone has somebody that they met early on in their career. They might have met somebody through business that they want to bring in as a partner into the business, or the other way around, they're joining a company as a partner. Mm-hmm. What do we look for? How do we know if it's a good fit? Where do your spidey senses come out?
So the first thing that I tell people do, if you are starting a business and you want to find a business partner, the number one thing you can do is actually look at yourself first, because you need to understand, what do I bring to the table? So the first piece and component is to really do a deep dive and ask yourself questions like, what's my personality style? What is my conflict style? How do I approach optimism or pessimism? What is my life stage? Am I able to commit a ton of time to this? Or do I have to find somebody who can be there full time while I still maintain a job because I have bills to pay and I'm not able to be full time with this? There's a whole series of really, really important internal questions to ask. And then what you see at the end of that is a bird's eye view of these quote unquote gaps. These parts in your life that you go, actually, this might be better suited as a partner than this. So a lot of times people will look at a skill set. Say, just for example, I'm starting a tech company. I don't know tech, so I need a software engineer as my partner. Well, maybe that isn't what you need. Maybe you are super high level, and what you actually need is someone who's detailed or able to execute properly. And you can hire a person to do your software, but you need someone to keep you on track. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. And actually, at the Co-Founders Hub, we are in the middle of creating a masterclass for that really helps people ask all these important questions and then be able to step back and go, okay, here's the list that I need, because it might not be factors that you think you need.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question: is how do we find the list of questions to ask?
It's coming.
Okay, all right, it's coming. All right, good. You'll have to let us know when that.
Well, the book has it too. The book does a big rundown into all those questions as well, and all the different aspects that you need to consider.
And it sounds like even if you're not considering a partnership, those are still good questions to ask yourself, right? I talk a lot about setting intentions, right? Like, let's stop setting goals for the year, but let's set intentions. And we need to think about, what does our life look like? What do we need from our business? It's going to help us hire. It's going to help us promote from our teams. It's going to help us determine what we need in order to be successful this year.
Absolutely. And moving forward in any business, the key component is your ability to communicate. Your ability to communicate to your customers, to your employees, to one another. All of that is so essential. And if you know yourself better, then you know how you communicate, and you can better address how other people accept your message. So all across the board, it's a very, very valuable exercise to take part in.
Have you ever heard yourself saying, I'm not a numbers person? How about, I've never been good with money, so why even bother trying? And this is one of my favorites. My parents, my family, they weren't good with money, and now I don't know how to manage my own money. I want you to imagine what it would feel like to overcome the imposter syndrome and financial insecurities as a female founder. Kickstart Accounting Inc.'s Money Mindset Mastery Program offers a transformative 7-step approach to understanding and mastering your money mindset. Learn to heal your relationship with money. Get a grip on the stories you're telling yourself. Find the practical tools to get off the emotional spending roller coaster and gain confidence in spending in your business. You'll benefit from the perfected reflection strategies for personal growth and self-awareness, access to valuable resources and mentorship, and the opportunity to join an influential community. Take control of your finances and life right now. Go to kickstartaccountinginc.com/courses to learn more about the Money Mindset Mastery Program. I cannot wait to work with you and help you finally master your money mindset. We've done this self-reflection. How do we know we found the right person that meets what we're looking for? I guess we don't even really know what we're working for. I'm picturing, I had a conversation with a friend yesterday who's recently divorced and on dating sites. And she's like, I'm literally just going through trying to figure out what I'm even looking for. And that's what I'm almost picturing in this partnership thing. How do you know what you're looking for?
Yeah. So once you sort of define some key factors, one of the things that I often tell people to do when they're out prospecting and talking to potential partners is to look at what I call PIKE. And it stands for passion, interest, knowledge, and excitement. And there's 4 different ways that you can kind of assess someone's interest in your business partnership, because I think everyone's biggest fear is bringing somebody on board and then they end up just not working. They literally not working. They don't commit fully to the partnership, or they don't end up working on a strong level within the business. And now all of a sudden you've got this person who owns equity and they're not even showing up to work on Friday. So it becomes really important to gauge what is their interest, how is their passion. Like, for example, if I propose a project to partner with somebody on in little ventures, which I do sometimes, what I do is I meet with the people and then I walk away. And I wait for, like, say, an email does an email come in at 2 a.m. going, okay, I can't stop thinking about this. And what if we did this? What if we did that? These are the kind of things, and those people do pop up. But oftentimes, if you're dragging somebody along, then they're not worth your time. So that would be one way of gauging somebody's interest. Like, is this the right person? Because it is a bit of an art form. And you really want to make sure that you're bringing somebody on board who is really vested and very excited to give their life to it.
What are some of the reasons why people look for partnerships? I'm thinking of either we need financial, right? Like we need somebody to invest financially into the business. We don't want to be alone, right? Yeah. So we bring somebody in, or there's synergy between two businesses or two people and their interests. What are some of the reasons that you see that people actually look for a partner?
For sure. Well, I'm going to give you 3 statistics because some studies were done about this. The first statistic is that 35% of people said that the main asset to someone being on board with them is moral support. And I think we all recognize that the journey ahead is going to be wrought with challenges and such. And having that person beside them while they navigate it, they recognize that it could be a lonely endeavor. And so moral support and having someone there in the trenches as you make these decisions is really important. Interestingly, almost the same amount of people actually are really looking for validation on the idea. And so that person gives them the confidence to just get started, which is interesting because it actually doesn't speak to the entire journey. It speaks about that moment in time where it's like, I really feel like I wanted somebody to help me to recognize that what I'm doing is right. And so they jumped in it for that reason. And then the third reason that a lot of people have jumped into a partnership is because they felt obligated to start the company with the person that they talked about the idea with. And the thing about the last 2 is that unfortunately, those are not strong enough reasons to partner with somebody. No. Validate your idea. You don't need to bring somebody on board yet. That is what a lot of people say. So again, it kind of goes back to the due diligence process. Once you've done your own self-assessment, take that assessment and run it against these potential founders and find out, is there a fit here? Do we complement each other? These are are other things that, and what did they bring to the table, and validate their skill set, making sure that they really are, say, a fantastic chef. Get them to cook a meal for you. These kind of things, it's validating and really making sure that that person is the right fit for you. Do your due diligence.
So, Erica, we need to find the right reason we want a partner in the first place. I really appreciate you sharing those stats because when I think of the partnerships who I know of that have not worked, that was very close to the reasons why it didn't work. So.
Yeah, exactly.
What happens if we are in a partnership and our ideas, our intentions, our life changes, right? I mean, God, so much changes year over year. One person gets pregnant, one person has kids, one person wants to move abroad, right? Like what happens as our life changes? And what if we're not communicating well? How do we stay on course? And then if we're off course, how do we get back on course?
Absolutely.